What's going on, everybody? This is Bobby at Parihar, the solution artist. It is an honor and an absolute blessing to come out to you guys here to share with you guys basically my story. I have been through quite the tale, and it's definitely not over yet. There's a lot more to happen still. But to think that in all this time and in all the time that it's taken me inside of the world to be 35 years old, I guess 35 years in my life story so far, that I'm bringing to you guys the most powerful compilation of events that you're going to experience, especially from my background or from where I'm from. And one of these, the most important, most original one, will be my story to introduce you guys to who I am. So let's get started. First of all, before we get started, I just want to thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your busy day to find some motivation in this and to listen to this story and to be here with me as I explain to you guys how I went from where I was to where I am now to ultimately where I'm going to be going next. This podcast, this production that you're listening to now, the biggest intention is to help people, is to help people get through tough times, help people get through difficulties in their life. Sometimes the road isn't easy. Sometimes you get beat down. Sometimes you fail. And I've been down more failures than I even care to remember. And I look back at this now thinking, it was worth it. There was a purpose. There was a reason why. There was something I had to grow through. I had to learn. And it's with so much honor that I share this with you guys. Hopefully we don't get too grisly into the details, but let's tell this story. One of the most powerful things that I ever had, inside of my life was, mentors. And whether they came and taught me things on a positive note, or they were there for me during times when I wasn't there for myself, or they were catalysts, people that I didn't enjoy, people that I didn't like, that helped me still move forward to the next stage of my life. And for that, I will be absolutely forever grateful. It's turned into this. And hey, it could be even one of you guys watching, one of the people out there who helped me in car sales, or maybe helped me in retail, helped me in corporate, or helped me in life, or maybe you're one of the people that didn't give me the job. Who knows? You get a chance to be like, oh man, I remember working with that guy. I remember, being there with him, before he, I don't want to say that I made it, but I'll tell you something for sure. I am making it happen. I will. There's a dedication and a commitment, an unrelenting sort of decision that I've made towards my success, that hell or high water, I'm going to help people. And that's one of the most powerful things that you can really give to the planet. I mean, we all go through stuff. We all go through challenge, and for me to rise up and stand up and say, I'm going to be one of the cleanup crew. I'm going to be one of the construction. I'm going to help people get to a better place in their life. I'm going to be that connector. And hopefully you guys find this as entertaining as it is, because hopefully it didn't all go out in vain and I had to experience trauma and drama in my life for no reason. But one of the most powerful things that I wanted to put this podcast together was so that I could come up with a space to highlight other people's stories, to come up with a space so that I could highlight information that I've learned along the way, truths and honesties that I've picked up along my journey, so that I could help teach, inspire, and grow the next listener, the next bit of the audience, the next dreamer, that next entrepreneur or spiritual person, whatever it is, looking for that little bit of clarity. I hope that you find it here. And it's as I say, a blessing and an honor to share this with you. Most of what you guys are about to hear, I thought I would never tell people. Some of the stuff that I've been through, the addictions, the trouble, and the trouble with the law, or trouble with myself, the self-worth, all of that, the self-esteem. I never thought I would actually be making a living out of broadcasting that information in an effort to help someone get through their own challenging story for themselves. So were you to, buckle in with me. I hope that you find what you need. And I really do. I make a solid prayer that you find exactly what it is that you're looking for in your life. And that one little slice, that one little piece, that one little moment that we spend together here would inspire you to become a better person for you and your family, to become a better person for your community, and to really help people around you learn how to help people around you. So many times we get caught up in this existence or in this world, and it's a selfish fight to the death. We try to take what's best for us. It's what's in it for me, and how can I get to the next place in my life? And I'm guilty of that as well. I now have a family now, and I thought I as much as I always wanted one, I thought I'd never have one. I thought that dream was setting its sun on me, or that sun was setting on my life, and that I wasn't going to actually ever get there. I was in such a desperation and desolation. I don't even want to call it despair. I almost want to call it like just straight up gave up on myself. More times than I even care to mention, more failures than I care to remember, as I said. So what you guys are going to be able to experience from this time, or our time together, from future episodes, future casts, is a combination of things. You're going to see some times where it's just me talking, and it's just going to be me and you, all right? And that's it. There's no audience. There are going to be other times when there is going to be an audience, and I'm doing something live on Facebook. So were I to invite you, www.facebook.com/BalwantFrancisco. You can follow me. That's BalwantFrancisco, Balwant Francisco. Okay, so www.facebook.com/BalwantFrancisco, and you'll be able to catch me live, right? You'll be able to catch me live, be a part of the audience, get a shout out, and be a part of the actual conversation itself. So, as I do love to interact with my audience, so there'll be some episodes where you just see me talking or hear me here. There are going to be some where I'm talking to my audience, and those are fun, because that's usually around current events. That's usually around current affairs. That's usually around something that's actually occurring in real time that I get a chance to experience with you guys live. So I absolutely love going live, like even much more than just sitting talking to a recording or talking to a microphone. The engagement and the life of connecting with people at the same time is one of the most beautiful and most empowering things. It's the relationships and the people that really make me. And when you dive a little bit deeper in with me, you'll see really what I'm talking about when I say that I'm a solution artist and I help people get to a better place in their lives. And this is where we get a chance to see this. So there are going to be some episodes where I'm live and I'm talking to my audience, and we're either talking about current events, current affairs, or we're going straight into readings. Now, readings, what are you talking about? What do you read? Tarot, or what is this? Centered around spirituality, channeling a divine message, and circulating around a technology called numerology. So we're going to get into that as well. But I really wanted to set the tone and set the bar by having my first premiere episode, or my first cast out there, teach you a little bit about who I am, a little bit about what you're in for, a little bit about what you're going to expect, when we work together. So, you'll have to forgive the quality at times. Sometimes it gets super real and super raw, and, I've got a very busy family, and sometimes they're, crying or laughing or playing in the background. And, there's going to be chances where, you guys are going to get a chance to meet my kids. If you guys are listening to this and you're already part of my dear, cherished, and loving audience, you probably already have seen them, one or two of them, or maybe all of them. Maybe you had a chance to meet us. But I can tell you this, the people who have held my kids, smiled because of them, enjoyed their energy, you do me a really huge, solid honor and a favor, a really big privilege, I should call it, by experiencing the energy of my family with me. Because for me, it was one of my biggest, most ultimate dreams was to be a parent. And you never know what you're getting into until you actually do, because anyone who's been a parent will tell you that kids drive you absolutely mental. They drive you completely nuts. That's a part of the gig. It's a part of the deal. And I had romanticized being a parent, thinking, oh, I'm gonna have the most perfect kids out there, and all that. So if you're right there with me, then hey, you're not alone. But I have a journey and a story through becoming a parent. Okay, so there's going to be those types of episodes, and as I say, I also want to highlight my mentors, leaders in my community, people of influence in my life, people I've worked with, like personally, to be able to interview them, share their story, and give them a place to rise to the next level of their lives is one of the most amazing honors that I can truly own. And so you'll see that. You're going to see some really powerful content I've been compiling, I've been putting together, I've been saving for just such a purpose, just like this, so that you guys can enjoy this with me. So I appreciate you all for being here. We're also going to be doing a bit of training. I'm going to be dropping lots of value inside of my my day-to-day. I am a spiritual business coach. As I say, I do use numerology, like I lean on it very heavily. I also do a lot of spiritual coaching and a lot of intuitive design. And also on the very practical and technical side, I've been an entrepreneur for, I guess, the last almost 6 years now. Coming up on 6 years, I think, or 7, I don't even know anymore. But it's honestly the longest I've ever done anything other than high school and being alive, okay? So other than going through education, actually couldn't even say high school. It's probably like grade school. Grade 1 to 7 was probably the biggest commitment I've ever made in my life other than being alive. And so the third longest thing I've ever done in my life so far has been being an entrepreneur. And that's not an easy road. A lot of people quit. A lot of people fail. A lot of people drop off. They say, oh, it's not for me. And I'll tell you what wasn't for me, having jobs apparently, because I've gone through about over 30 jobs, in the time I've been alive. And it's, I used to be proud of that. I used to be embarrassed about that. Now I just find it somewhat funny to think I could do everything and get hired to do anything, but I couldn't do anything. I couldn't quite maintain a stable income. I couldn't quite maintain a stable job, or I couldn't stay somewhere for long enough without getting bored or interrupted somehow, or something would happen, or I'd get fired, or something would go down. And I just was not intended or made for employment. Okay. So I'm sorry to all my bosses, all my managers, anyone out there who gave me a chance, and I just totally screwed the pooch. And I appreciate you guys so much for seeing and believing in me. I like to give gratitude a lot. I love to give appreciation a lot, because I believe that's really truly what the world needs is more appreciation for what we have and what we have been through and the people that we've been around. I think that's one of the most powerful things that anyone can ever know, is an honest road to appreciating the people around you. Okay, so a big, huge love and respect to my first original mentors who never gave up on me. Actually, I can't say they never gave up on me. I'd like to think they never gave up on me, but my parents have been there for me through thick and thin, even during times where they've given up on me. I feel proud to show up to them now with my son and my family and my fiance, soon to be married next month. Like, my entire life is turned around. I used to be, I'll get into that. I'll get into, the deep, dark place and give you guys a bit of that motivation. But as an introduction, stay tuned. And I even, encourage you to, who knows by the time you're listening to this, how many episodes deep, how much growing has occurred, how much I've changed, or what difference there is now inside of me from my most current episode to this, the ultimate, the number one. And even still, my number one episode, this isn't the first one I've filmed. I've been filming them, I've been recording them, I've been collecting them with the intention in mind to broadcast them and produce them into a podcast. So huge respect to my mentors, Shane and Anna, for providing this opportunity and this space for me. I absolutely appreciate you guys so much for including me inside of your family. And it's going to be an absolute epic journey. So I hope that you guys find value. I hope that you find worth, and I hope you find a little bit of piece of yourself that you may have left behind, that you may have long forgotten, that maybe you never knew existed. Maybe you heal a piece of yourself that truly needs your love now. But I've come here as a representative of good, a representative of success, a representative of power to help you through the journey to find yours, okay? I've committed to that. And that for me was something that's been swimming around in my mind and inside of my heart ever since I got into customer service, ever since I knew as a kid that I wanted to be a manager one day and a sales director and oh my God, and have my own business one day, and to know that even back then, it was always a focus on how do I help people? How do I help them get through something? Whether it be my amazing client and audience base who have trusted me with some of the most vulnerable pieces of their lives, that I've been able to help, all the way down to the quiet listener who maybe doesn't say anything. And, for me, it gives my life purpose and it gives my life meaning. So what we got to look forward to, interviews. You guys are going to see some amazing individuals come across this podcast. We're also going to see we're definitely going to take a look, and we're going to have powerful talks and speaks on the true nature of life and what I've learned and information I've gleaned. I love teaching and I love sharing with people, just me and you. That's it. Like sending that message out there straight for your ears, like not broadcasting it out to a bunch of different people, but for you, you, the one listening to this, just me and you having a conversation, hoping that you find some value and some worth in the words that I speak. Okay, so I like to pride myself on being a storyteller, and sometimes I tell a story and I you can lose track of my thought, and that's just part of the game. It's just part of the journey. So you're going to see that, and you're also going to see me interact with you guys. You actually want to be a part of the conversation. Actually want to go out there and be part of the conversation. I would be so super honored if you joined me on my Facebook page. And, Bobby F. Parihar on Facebook, and you got my URL earlier. So if you want to search my name, Bobby F. Parihar, the same way it shows up on the Solution Artist, Bobby F. Parihar, I would be honored were you to follow my journey of go lives, free readings, current events, current affairs, things that are happening out there in the stars, how it affects us all as entrepreneurs, as a collective of soul consciously driven, soul-driven entrepreneurs. We align, and it started, from a really strong desire, and it grew from there to thousands of people now. And to think that we're only still scratching the surface, we're only still getting started. So back to the very beginning, introduce you guys to me. My name is Belwant Francisco Parihar. Okay, so I should kind of raise some eyebrows a little bit. It's a very interesting name. Half Indian. My dad was born in Fiji. He's an Indian fellow from like a Punjabi, and was born on the Fiji Islands. My mom, on the other hand, is from El Salvador, so Central America. And their story is quite a romantic one. They were super young. And they met at the P&E. So it's the Pacific National Exhibition. This is a fair that happens in late August every year. And, my mom and my dad met there, fell in love. Months later, they got engaged. Months later, they got married. Months later, I got pregnant. Months later, I came in. So it happened all quite quickly and quite fast and quite young for them. So I've got young parents. They've always been in business for themselves as far as I can remember. They've always had retail in their veins, go get the merchandise, go sell the t-shirts, go put them on the racks. ring it in the cash register. And we built a life on that. I built a life with mentorship under people who they didn't have jobs, they had businesses. And it was, I think one of the biggest things that ever happened to me to set my mind up for this myself was that I wanted to be just like my dad. I wanted to have my own clothing store. I wanted to do that myself, a nice little t-shirt shop. There would be like a big screen TV in there, and you could design your own t-shirts, and there'd be people playing video games, and you could sell like rap CDs and like hip hop CDs in there, and local artists and local work, and people would make t-shirts. We would print them right there. It'd be this like cool hangout space for people to lounge and also shop in. Okay, that was my dream. That was like the thing that I wanted to do, right? And got to a certain age in my life where my dad was like, "Don't do it." He's like, "Don't do that." I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this guy's had like a dozen or more clothing stores, different malls, all in the Lower Mainland over the course of our history of our upbringing. And here he is telling me not to follow in the family footsteps. He's like, "Son, it's not worth it. Go get a nice job, go get educated, go find a big company and a nice safe company, and you can rise and soar through the ranks. If I had to do it again, I wouldn't have done business and this and that." And he's like breaking my heart, just breaking my heart here. And I'm like, small little kid, thinking I'm gonna have a hip hop clothing store one day. And my dad's like, "It's not always cracked up to be. There's a lot of challenge," and he's talking me out of it. I'm thinking hypocritical that this guy would build his family, and build a lifestyle or a life that we never wanted for things. We always had nice clothes. We lived in nice neighborhoods. We always built houses, and my parents were obsessed with building houses. Like they just wanted to. Every time we got a new one, we'd build another one, and we built like half a dozen houses, not all at the same time, but like through the time of my life. It was always like we were either moving to a house or we were moving to a rental house while our house was being built, and the house got sold before we were able to move in. So it was always this like constant upgrading until my parents got too big and they had a 6,500 square foot house and had like 8 rooms or something, and like half a dozen bathrooms and a theater room and a sauna and like a fountain in the backyard and like 2 staircases, 2 kitchens upstairs, a kitchen downstairs. Like it was a mansion. And then they would say, "Oh yeah, we went too far. We're going to downsize now." So that's like me in high school. They're like, "No, we're going to downsize now. We're going to take it back down." And they started getting into smaller houses after smaller houses. And, I guess, whatever, it's fine. You can decide however you want in your life. I thought they were going to keep getting bigger. I thought that they were going to keep getting more stores. I told them, "Oh, you should operate a chain of stores and just call it like have your name everywhere and let's keep expanding." And my dad's like, "What for? Like, less is more." And I'm getting to an age in my life where I don't want to keep expanding. I just want to find a nice, happy medium in my life. So here he's teaching me a lot because I'm like, got big eyes. I want to see these dreams happen. I want to see big things go down. And and the advice I'm getting is contradictory. Like almost like he bit off more than he could chew, or maybe he just got tired. I'm not sure what happened, but lo and behold, they've still to this day shown up as a beacon of inspiration, admiration for me in my life. And if you have challenged or a relationship with your parents that you don't enjoy, or maybe they're no longer with you and you can't quite admire them the way that you'd like to anymore, my heart goes out to you. And if you do still have an opportunity to reconcile, I suggest you do it. Like life is too short, and it's about the relationships that you hold, in my opinion. So that's why I'm so obsessed with creating them, creating long-term lasting ones, is because I feel like that's true wealth. I really do. I really feel like it's not what you know, it's who you know. So, back to my little story here. Born in 1984. So at the time of this recording, I believe I'm 35 now. I kind of think I forget a few times. 2019, I'm 35 this year. I was 35 in June. And what about little Bobby can I tell you guys? I had really big eyes. Maybe you go through some of my pictures on Facebook and you'll see some of the old ones as me as a kid. Cute as a button, I was a really good looking boy. I just dealt with a lot of self-worth and acceptance and peer pressure. And like I dealt with a lot of like, social anxiety. I remember as a kid, me and my cousin, we would always play together on Saturdays because my dad and his brother, his dad, would always go, either playing soccer or playing pool. And so we would connect together. We were big on Super Nintendo. It was like the thing back then. It was like the console of choice. You were either Sega or you were Nintendo. We were Nintendo. And so, that's what we did with our time, playing video games. And we used to play in the park. And so as a young kid, a little bit of social anxiety. It wasn't too long. I guess when I started getting aware of myself at a certain age, the age of innocence, you're kind of just not really aware of yourself. I remember that some of the first memories I have were like, getting disciplined at school, where I was speaking out of turn, or I said something silly or stupid, or I wasn't paying attention, or my attention was somewhere else, and my teacher sent me to my desk. And that was like the kiss of death when you're at the circle. Okay, so everyone's sitting at the circle by the teacher in the corner in the floor, and here I am getting sent to my desk in grade 1 where it's cold and I'm shivering, and I'm like, I felt like I was like the class clown. Like everyone was looking at me being like, oh my God, what an idiot. This is me like in grade 1, and I'm just like pissing my teacher off for some stupid reason I didn't even mean to. And, I was just trying to be funny. And next thing you know, I get sent to my desk. And this kind of like is the first memory I have of this social anxiety that built within me that needed to be liked, and that needed to be accepted, that needed to be acknowledged, and that needed to be praised. Inside of my family, I've got 2 younger sisters. We're between me and my baby sister, 5 years. Between me and my other sisters, 2 years. Just 3 of us. 1 boy, 2 girls. I'm the eldest. So a lot falls on your shoulder as the firstborn. You have to, we expect more from you, or you have to help us. And it reminds me of the way that I should probably make sure I talk to my daughter. I put so much emphasis on, you're supposed to be the big girl. You're supposed to help daddy, and you're supposed to be this supposed to be. We drill our kids with things they're supposed to be, and we don't allow them to truly be themselves. Now, again, I absolutely honor, respect, love, and cherish my parents. So I'm not saying that they did a bad job. I did for a while. I apologize for that. I used to be very mad at them with things that happened in my life. I used to blame them. You can always blame your parents. It's so easy. Nobody's prepared for parenthood. And I recognize that now. I'm like, oh man, I feel like such an idiot. Like I went through this challenge myself, and like, I'm going to be the best dad ever. And then now that I'm in it, I find myself sounding like my dad, saying the same things that he would. And oh my gosh. So I get it. It's a challenge to have children. But if you have had kids, or if you've been a kid once with parents there, you have to recognize at a certain point, and hopefully it's now, if it hasn't been before, that they were doing the best that they could do. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. Unless they were absolutely, truly evil people sent here to ruin your life, and sometimes, we're born by accident, and it's not planned. And next thing oh, you're an accident, and, you weren't planned, and this and that and that. And then you have to walk through life because your parents were super unconscious and maybe said that to you, or, they spoke that into you. And then you got this idea thinking, I'm not supposed to be here. So in case anyone's got these really just challenging childhoods, and you're listening to this, you're like, oh, baby, that's me all day long. I grew up with addict parents, or they neglected me or abused me, or they were never there. They were absent. They always worked all the time. Or you can say something about the way that you were victimized as a child and mistreated as a child. There comes a certain point where you can take responsibility back, and just remember, they didn't know. They had no idea. They were just thrown into this. Even some people weren't even planning on becoming parents, and they're like, uh-oh, well, I guess we're pregnant. We should totally get married. Or we're pregnant. I guess I got to get another job. Or even worse, we're pregnant. Okay, bye. See you. You can have the baby by yourself. Can you imagine the mentality behind some people to leave their child? And for me, being a dad was one of the most earliest passions I ever had as a child. Was one day I'm going to be a dad just like my dad, and one day I'm going to be a powerful businessman just like my dad. And I idolized him. I idolized him and I idealized him so high that it was just an untouchable mantle that I would never, grow to. I would never, end up becoming. And I recognize it now that I have, in my opinion, it wasn't by, raising to his standard. It was about raising to mine. It was about raising to my own value and my own wealth. So just to put that out there, in case you're challenged or troubled, or you blame your history, you blame your past, it's okay. You're not alone. Everyone had this challenge where a baby's a lot of work, a child's a lot of work, and chances are your parents didn't get a manual, they didn't get a instruction owner's guide, step by step installation guide on how to be a parent. And some of us get books, other of us Google. Back then there was no Google. It was just called, calling everyone and seeing what advice they had for you, or whatever it was that people got their information. The library, I don't know. But to know that, we're all doing the best that we can, it really helps to heal some of those distant wounds of abandonment, neglect, and the list that happens as a kid, when chances are, you're a bit much for your parents to handle. They're older. They don't have the same mind frame. They weren't born in the same time. The technology is different from when they were kids. There's a part of them that can't relate, and they're here to provide the challenge anyway. So if you're still alive today and you're not listening to this from the beyond, from spirit radio, okay, like if you're listening to this like real for real, congratulations, your parents didn't actually mess you up as bad as you think they probably did. And get in line. Everyone's got a mommy issue or a daddy issue. It's not uncommon. So for me to grow up with those, I get it. I idealized my dad. I got spanked and hit as a kid. I was unruly. I stole from them. I used to steal from my friends or people at school. I lied. I cheated. I cheated on my girlfriend. I cheated on tests. I cheated people out of things. I did things out of a selfish, an unconscious desire to just do for me. So I mean, one of the really most biggest vulnerabilities is that I didn't want to tell people that. I didn't want to tell people that I stole money from my uncle, or money from my dad's cash register, or even pens or pencils from classroom classmates or things. I was really just like stealing from myself. I was really stealing from myself, because that's really who you're robbing. You're robbing yourself of fruitful relationships, of trust and respect and dignity and authenticity and integrity from others. And I stole from jobs I worked at, all this stuff. And so, it was a challenge and a half to find my integrity. But because of the nasty things I did in my life, I like to think that I paid pretty hard with all of the stuff I've had to go through. Looking back at it now, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to come clean. I'm going to tell people the real, true goods, because some people are out there feeling like, I got to do what I got to do just to get ahead. And, sometimes that leads you to despair and necessity. And that's where things like greed, or things like, I got no other option but to take care of myself at the expense of others. And it was so crazy to think that, like, my parents were building everything they were building for me and for us as a family. And I would sit there and shortcut them and sidewind from them, and, and take from them in ways that, were made me feel very, very guilty and very miserable in my life. I paid for a lot of that. So here I am as a young kid. Now I'm starting to get a belly. I'm starting to get a little chubby in the face. I've developed a relationship with too much food. I guess I played soccer as a kid. That was something I did. Karate and taekwondo as a kid. But I wasn't the most athletic. I still was a bit more round, and was more into the sweets and the treats, and more into playing video games and living on a couch and being sitting down. So I get it. Maybe my early lifestyle choices created a lot of anxiety in me as a kid. 9, 10, 11, 12. feeling chubby. Chubby was the word. Booby. They called me Booby instead of Bobby, right? It was funny, right? But not to me. To me, it was insulting, and I felt like, these were supposed to be my friends, and even my friends. Like when I went to elementary school, they'd pick on me. They would talk behind my back, and I always just wondered, like, is there something wrong with me? Like, what is this? Why do I have always something wrong with me that makes people, mistreat me somehow? Like, do I have stupid written on my forehead, or kick me written on, like, stamped on my back somewhere? And I went through this getting picked on. And, like, I remember one time a group of my friends, quote unquote friends, recorded on a little tiny mini recorder with a tiny mini cassette. They recorded all the reasons why they didn't like me, all the reasons why I was a loser, or all the reasons why they, that they only pretended to like me. And it's just crazy to think that, like, the guy who did that, he has his own podcast now too. And, like, I'm like, and we were rivals from the very beginning, and he always would just pick on me, and, like, got everyone else to pick on me too. And it was just so funny to look back at that, because we became friends, and then after we became friends, he dogged on me again, and at my friend's wedding, he started spreading some really negative things and got everybody turned against me. And it was this pattern that I had with this person in my life, and I'm always wondering, why do I attract people who don't like me? And here I am thinking really negatively about myself, and I wasn't able to. I guess I still had some friends. I had some true blue friends who wanted to be with me, but I felt very much like a loner, and like I didn't fit in, like I didn't belong. It's me in, like, elementary school, grade 3, 4, 5, like that. Starting to deal with a weight issue, starting to deal with a self-worth issue, and I'm just, like, so sick and tired of this. This life I was living. Just couldn't wait to get out of that school. And grade 8. So by the time grade 8 comes, I go to a middle school. So you graduate from grade 7 and you go to middle school, and it was right, like, the first or second year middle schools were a thing, and then I went to this. It was supposed to be like grade, I don't know, 6, 7, and 8 for middle school, but our middle school was grades 8 and 9. So it was a 2-year grade, or 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so it was the grade 7, 8, and 9, and I went to Port Moody Middle. It was Port Moody Secondary, or Port Moody Middle School. And yeah, so I had a new look. I started to, become like a good-looking young man, right? But I was such a nerd, and I wore cargo pants, and I went through this sort of, like, weird-looking goth phase, and, like, a punky feel. Or all my clothes were, like, 3 sizes too big, and it was just sloppy everywhere. My jeans were ripped, and I was wearing skater shoes, and I didn't skateboard. But I did play bass guitar. I learned how to play guitar. I played with this inside the school band, just in case, that makes you any more cooler. It really doesn't. And I wasn't very popular with the people my age, because they remembered me from elementary school, and they didn't care too much for me. So what ended up happening was I started making friends with people who were a year younger than me, and also making friends with people who were in a different community. And I started making friends with people in different communities, and I didn't want to hang around the people that were my age, because they didn't want to hang around me. And obviously, you don't hang around with older kids, because that doesn't make any sense. But for me, I found that I was popular with the younger kids. I was popular with people that were in grade 7. So here I am, and I remember I still even have I don't have it here at reach, but I'll show you one day. Remind me if you ever ask me, you're ever curious. A picture of me like this with a bunch of girls behind me at a school dance, and they're all, like, younger than me, right? And I'm, like, sitting there just being this, like, debonair. I had, like, my hair gelled forward like that, and it was just so funny to look back and see that part of my life now. And I'm like, oh, such a nerd. To go back to that time in my life. And, I was at that age, 13, 12. No, it was about 12, 13, getting ready for high school. Spent a year in middle school, 1 year at that school. And then the next year on, I went to middle school or high school, Pine Tree Secondary, and another new school here. And there's like a new group of people, and this time I started to get into fights, and again, more groups of friends would pretend to like me and then talk smack behind me, or talk behind my back, or make rumors about me or say stupid things. And I was like, I gotta go find other people to go and hang around. I had to find people in other schools. I had people in other communities that I wanted to hang around with, and I basically found somewhat of I felt like I never really fit in. I never really had that like tight clique of people. The friends that I did have, the 4 or 5 of them from my elementary school, they were always kind of like, they kept me at arm's distance because they were part of the popular kids, and we were friends, but it wasn't cool to be seen with Bobby. So imagine that. It was a really strange place in my life where I was not very popular, and I kept getting picked on, and I picked back. I fought back a little bit, and then I'd get in trouble, and I would lose focus in my classes because I didn't want to be there. I hated being there, and I manangled my school schedule, because you can take electives, right? You could take certain courses you want, and I tried shoving all of my prerequisites up front so that I could get out of school early. And I remember by the second half of grade 12, I was skipping almost every class. I didn't want to be there anymore. I had all my requirements. I was just basically biding my time until graduation and doing the least possible that I could, because I was like, screw this. I'm just filling up empty space now. I'd rather not be here. And that was basically how bad it got. My friends they weren't friends. They were just people who I thought were friends. My car kept getting broken into. Things got stolen from my car all the time, and everybody knew, and nobody would tell me. My girlfriends would cheat on me, and everybody knew. Nobody would tell me. I really had a really challenging time with myself. And here I am, this helpless romantic, thinking that every girl I meet is the girl of my dreams. Every girl I meet is going to be the one for me, and we're just going to be high school sweethearts, and I'm going to find my fairy tale in love, and that's basically going to be my story. So, it was grade 10. Around grade 10, I think it was grade 10, yeah, in the winter, I smoked weed with my cousin for the first time. And or it could have been with one of my so-called friends. I had my first doobie. That's what you called them back then, doobie, or joints. We had joints. So I had my first taste of the green life, and it took me. I failed my very first course. I failed Math 10. I was not focused. It was the winter of 2010, I think, or something like that. And I was just I spent the weekend out with my cousin. We just smoked so much weed, and we were at his friend's house. His friend's dad smoked weed, so I thought, oh my God, these guys are rebels. This is so crazy. I'm in a drug house, and there's all these weed smokers. And I picked up a really bad habit. I still excelled pretty well. Some of my classes, surprisingly enough, business education, entrepreneurship, they had offered some of these types of infotech courses in school. I did really good in. And then other places like photography, my teacher pitied me and basically was like, oh my God, I'm going to pass you with 19%. He passed me in photography with 19% out of sheer pity. And I'm like, you're such a boss. And I kind of didn't need the credit anyway. I could have just taken the fail and I didn't care. But he was like, you clearly don't care about this. And I'm like, no. He's like, just forget it. I'm just going to just let you know you got 19% on this overall in your grade, okay? And you need 50 to pass. I'm just going to pass you, and let's just never talk to each other again. So great guy. Did me a favor. I guess he didn't really care too much about his job either. But, getting out of high school, I was already working. So I had started my work career, and my parents were clothing retailers my whole life, right? So I was already working for them by the age of 12, 13. I was going to the store with my dad on the weekends, helping them out with, going to the border because we live in Vancouver, or we had our stores in Vancouver. We lived in Coquitlam. And they would go and travel religiously once every few months down to Los Angeles on clockwork. Sometimes both my parents, sometimes just my dad, and they would go out there, buy clothing, ship it to the border, Blaine, Washington, and we would go and pick up clothing and merchandise it and put it in a store. So we would have like $10 T-shirts and $50 outfits and $49.99 and $29.99 and all these cool little things. Women's clothing, men's store. We had two stores in the mall at one point. They had like over a dozen, all together. And over the time, they also had in the summer, the P&E where they met. They also had a booth there set up. So in the case you were, you ever been to the P&E in the early, 90s, you may have seen me there. Okay, so basically, I was like a part-time carny. We call ourselves exhibitors, and we were inside the I can't remember what it's called now. I can't remember the building it was called, but it was like the showcase building, the showcase where everybody would set up. I think it was what it was called. Everyone would set up, and you'd have like the Ginsu knives, best knives ever. You have these magic markers and the chamois, and these different like this thing you could spray onto your surfaces so that they wouldn't fog up. So you can spray your glasses and your windshield, and they would not fog up. So depending, like if you ever needed that service or whatever. And there was I can't remember what her name, Auntie Maggie's or something. This place, Margie's Fudge. Okay, she would create fudge. It was whale's tails, and come on, like P&E. If you've never been to a carnival, this is a once a year. They have this in Vancouver, British Columbia. So Showmart. It was a Showmart building. So anyway, my parents were clothing retailers, and so I'd already had my taste for working. And little did I know that at the age of like 16, 17, when I got a job at Off the Wall, it was a clothing store at the mall. I got my very first job, and I was like, "Oh, this is crazy." I think I made it. It was like a temporary like seasonal hire is what they told me when they fired me. So they were like, "Oh, we're gonna bring you on," and then 2 months later, right before Christmas, they're like, "Oh, we don't need you anymore." And I'm like, "Huh? Like right over Christmas? Really? You don't need me anymore?" It's kind of weird, but okay. So I kind of like was really sad because I thought I was gonna make it and be like the next boss of Off the Wall. It was a clothing store back in the day, and it was funny. Little did I know that I would end up having like over 30 jobs in my life, like literally. And starting at the age of 15 to 30, that's like an average of like 2 or more per year. And some years I never worked. I just couldn't find work. And some years it'd be like 2 jobs, some years it'd be 4 jobs. And I'd have like a bunch of T4s at the end of the year, right? Your tax slips that you produce income here, here, here. And I always get money back because they'd always take more tax than I deserve to be taken because I worked so many different jobs. I don't know if that's a thing or how that works. But hey, I'm a speaker. I'm not an accountant. But yeah, so I got my taste for the job life. Got paychecks. And then I got my job at McDonald's. Okay, so McDonald's, I met some pretty powerful people. I dated one of the women there, one of the girls there for a very long time. She got me the job there, and I went from like food to clothing, back to food. I worked at Guess. Guys, this list goes on forever. I worked at a bank. I worked at another bank. I worked at a shoe store. I worked at Aldo. I worked at, like spring shoes. Then I went into car sales. I sold Volkswagens. Those were the first cars I ever sold. And then I went to Toyotas. I went to and worked again at another Volkswagen. I did Volvo dealerships. I did a Chrysler dealership, for Christ's sake. I worked in a lot of different places, in cars alone. That was like around 2008 or something like that. I remember back in 2004, I was like 2006 or something, when I first got into cars, I decided I was going to go back to school. And this was like 3 years after, I would have needed to start school right after college or right after high school. And I went to college, and I'm going there in a suit with my super ego on, being like, I don't need school. I'm already a car salesman. I'm going to make a career in cars. I don't need this. And I ended up, basically going into car sales. And,
then the whole thing happened in, I guess it was 2008, where everything started to break and fall and crash, and nobody was buying anything. And I was like, well, I got to get out of here. I went back to retail, and, I just jumped around back and forth everywhere. And I just kept on circulating. I did door to door. I just kept on working at different places, like nonstop. That was just my life. And then from there, I worked, what did I do from that? For work, I went into, missing a lot. I did a lot of jobs at this point. I even did a job as an inventory counter, like where you would go and scan every single screw at Home Depot at like 4 a.m, and they drove us or flew us all the way up to the Yukon territory, like right beside Alaska, to go and count like gummy bears at Superstore and like count stuff at Whistler. I went to Whistler on a trip once, work trips, and I was working there. Crazy how many different types of jobs I've had. Then I found, and this is sort of where it comes into the present moment, or the journey to it, because it started to get old, and I was like, far out. I would sometimes even get fired before I even started my first day. Like, imagine that. Like, it was crazy. So my cousin throws me a bone, and he got me hired at a call center that he worked at. And I was like, okay, maybe I won't do sales this time. Maybe I'll just do tech support. So I was working at the internet company, fixing interwebs and cable channels and Young and the Restless and all that stuff, and helping people with their PVRs. And I was that guy on the phone helping people to get their shit working again, fixing things for people again. So I worked there, and it was about 3 years in. And within there, I started to climb. At 3 years in a job for Bobby, that was insane. That was unheard of. I've never had a job for 3 years, like with one company. That was like, whoa, Bobby, you found it. You made it. You did it. This is it. I haven't had relationships this long. And, it was like, finally, I found a place where I could lay my hat and be a sales director and be a director of regional blah, 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 da-da-da. And I found it. And I got fired. I ended up becoming so successful. They promoted me again, and I was like, wow, I'm going to do this. And then I kept on getting promoted until I found a set of managers who were like, no. And so I was like, fine, I'm just going to stay here and do what I do, and I'm going to build my brand and build my business inside of my job, thinking I'm going to be someone of value and quality. They didn't like the way I was using promotions. They didn't like the way I was saving my customers. They didn't like the way I was acquiring new customers. They didn't like the fact that I was trailblazing inside of my job. They're like, you can't do that in the corporate world. And I got fired, and I'm like sitting there like almost like shocked, thinking, I'm going to get fired for doing a good job. I can't do this anymore. And, in this meantime, I'm not even talking about the relationships and the different levels of angst, emotional, and maybe there should be another time where I talk about my love journey. I like to think that it's all disappeared now that I found the woman for me. But I got fired, and I remember leaving that place being like, even when I'm doing good, even when I'm like creating, and I'm actually like being a producer inside of my wealth, I'm still getting fired. It was so depressing. And it was even depressing to the point where I joined a network marketing company as a way of, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I can't even do good and, keep a job. I have to go somewhere, and I have to go somewhere for myself this time. So I was super sick and tired and like absolutely like, just super depressed on the whole job thing. And I ended up, joining a direct sales network marketing business. And best decision I ever made in my whole life, was to get into business for myself, because it led to all of this. It led to everything that's happened in my life. That one decision that said, I can't do this job thing anymore. And even at that point, I joined a business and I got another job really quickly, because I'm like, well, I got to pay the bills real quick. So I hopped over to the next telecom company. This time it was a cell phone company, and I started the call center thing there. But this time I was like super jaded, and I didn't want to save very much. And and I didn't want to open my mouth too much, but every time I did, people were like, you know what you're doing, don't you? You should get promoted. I'm like, no, 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 I don't need a promotion. I just need to stay quiet and stay by myself, and I don't need to ruffle any feathers. I just want to, get my paycheck and see you there, goodbye, goodbye. And I was scared. I was gun shy of the corporate ladder. I'm like, there's snakes on that ladder. I can't keep climbing that thing. If I do, something bad's going to happen, and I'm going to get failed again, and the world's just going to fail me. I'm going to get ostracized. I'm going to get embarrassed. I'm going to get fired again. And, I was afraid to succeed. Like, wow, it was so, and I had this really nasty negative energy towards being a business owner, because I was just all about the, like, screw you, pay me attitude. Like, I've worked 8 hours, I deserve 8 hours worth of pay, and give me some overtime while you're at it. And that's not the attitude you can have as a business owner. It's an entrepreneur. You can be willing to spend 3, 4, 5 years even failing your way to success. Like, you have to like survive through that. So no wonder people quit and they can't cut it, or they don't want to continue doing it, because it's definitely not the easiest thing out there. Not everybody is developed or made for that. Despite having powerful parents inside of business, they weren't interested in me being an entrepreneur at all. They were like, don't do that, go get a job. What, did you not listen to me? Go and build a career and find a big company. I'm like, man, I can't, like, I can't keep finding companies to work for. I've worked for all the big companies. Now I'm like scratching my head. Should I pull out the Fortune 500 like company list and just, go through there top to bottom? I worked at eBay, a call center at eBay. Like, oh my God, got fired from there as well. Gave my email address to tell one of my customers to keep in contact with me. And man, it was just so super stupid. I don't know what I was thinking. But basically, this is my life. A series of really dumb decisions. But finally, I made the big dumb one, and I invested thousands of dollars in getting into a business. I bought some very weird looking, water ionizer, and I'm like, oh God, this is like the last thing you do before you commit suicide kind of thing. And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna build this. I'm gonna stand my ground. I'm going to become, the next, double black diamond or whatever inside of the ruby business or whatever it is in the company. And I wasn't gonna let go. And it was stubborn, and it didn't work. I like sold to my cousins, my old high school friends, people who kind of believed in me, and I was super blessed that I had that support still, because everybody else disowned me. Nobody wanted to talk to me. High school's long over, elementary's long over. Now it's just becoming an entrepreneur is like a kiss of death, because everybody who is like, oh shit, now he's going to pitch us his water machine, and oh, watch out. And now I don't know. And that was like basically the life I was living. It's like, I'm going to become successful in business, and nobody can stop me. Nobody can fire me. I'm in charge of myself. And great, so what? The calendar wasn't going to pay me either. I wasn't doing anything. You don't get fired, but you don't get paid either. If you don't do anything, you just sit there being like, huh. So I racked up credit card bills. I racked up like a solid like $20,000-$30,000 worth of debt, living the life of an entrepreneur, when really I was just racking up my own like demise in my credit. Super embarrassing, but hey, what can I say? This was my life. I basically picked up the wrong group of people, started hanging around people who made money and who were bored, and they did drugs. And here I am, like love to smoke weed. By now I've tried mushrooms. I've done mushrooms a bunch of times. I used to go to work high all the time, not on mushrooms, thankfully, but I did go to work high a lot on ecstasy, MDMA, okay, like, oh my God. And I would always be smoking weed. So it was like a secret addiction habit that I thought I would never tell people. I thought I would never explain to people that I had lethal addictions to drugs. Okay, like it was something I thought I was just going to do in my quiet time. And then, one day before it got too bad, I would just quit and I would pretend like it never happened. I would get my life together. And that was like my whole thing. I was going to do that, okay? So crazy. It's crazy to think that this is like the life that I've lived. So I picked up a really negative habit of, and then now suddenly I met the wrong people. I got into cocaine, and I started just doing it by myself. I wasn't partying because I wasn't cool like everyone else. It was like this kind of nerdy, needs to be liked, kind of like clingy kind of boyfriend. I couldn't hold a relationship. I couldn't hold a job. Now I couldn't hold a business. I gave up, and I I quit my job and I went full time as an entrepreneur, and then I couldn't do that either. So I gave up that and I went back to my parents' house. I'm like 31, living at my parents' house. Oh man, it was so super depressing. I'm like, this sucks. This sucks. Like nobody wants to go and live with their parents at 31. Trust me, it's not a good idea. And even at that point, this is like 2015. And I had moved into like a $2.2 million penthouse in Vancouver. And like I had like pretended that I was making money, and it was like 18, 17, $1,600 a month on rent. And like it was crazy because I was building my business. I was working with entrepreneurs inside of my business. But at the same time, they brought drugs into the situation and it all fell apart. And I picked up this really strong lethal addiction of drugs. So I went back home to my parents' house, tail between my legs. And I was like, fuck, I'm just going to go and apply everywhere. And I met someone who hired me at the mall. And I went to go sell cell phones at the mall. And I was there at the mall. I got fired from that job too. And this time, I worked there for like 6-7 months, maybe a little bit longer. And this time, I was secretly buying, blow every like couple of days, secretly doing it inside of my bedroom. My parents had no idea. And I was just like, don't talk to me. I'm just going to go to work and come home. And they're like, proud of you, son. Proud of you. Getting your life back on your feet. And, had that really big scare with that whole business thing and, all that stuff. And by the way, I'd also learned numerology by this time too. So I'm sitting on this diamond mine and I'm not even going into the cave. And I'm like, got this really cool technology, numerology. And it really was a powerful spiritual point for me. I had money blocks. And I thought, I can't charge for this. I can't charge for my time. I can't charge for, doing it. I would never do that. That's so distasteful. And I was so against charging for my personal time as a coach, like imagine. And so, I was doing free readings for people and it wasn't paying me anything and they were becoming successful. And I was like, well, I got a letter in my name. Why isn't it working for me? And little did I know I was growing through my path. So, fast forward to getting fired again, And I think this is like 2016 now, something like that. And I can't remember. And it's 2016, 2017. So I get fired again. And at this time, I was dating a girl. And, I couldn't bring her to my house because my parents are like, you can't bring a girl into the house. And I'm like, I'm 31. You're not going to let me bring my girlfriend home, Mom? I realized that was like the most embarrassing anger to have. I was like, I can't believe at 31, my mom's not letting me have a girlfriend at the house. And I'm like, Bobby, you're such an idiot. Why are you still at home? Why are you still at home? So here I am, like I'm like mad at my mom. She doesn't support me. Finally, I'm getting my life together and I find someone I want to be with. And, this girl's amazing. And, she had no home. She was living on a couch. She had dreadlocks. She was addicted to acid. And here I am, like, dating her. And it was this cool, she was like, do you think we should be boyfriend and girlfriend? I'm like, oh my God, yes. I'll do anything at this point. And so we started dating and I stopped doing drugs. So because we were dating, I didn't have time. And she didn't have a place to stay, and she didn't have a job either. So all my money was now going to, being in a supporting relationship with her. Like any real man should do for his woman is pay for her. And so I told her while we were high on LSD that I hadn't been doing any drugs. I wasn't doing any drugs because, I was with her. And I was like 2 weeks clean, right? I was clean for like 3 weeks. And then she was like, oh, you've got an addiction to, like those types of drugs? Like, I'm out of here. And I was like, what? No, I'm not doing them anymore. Like, you don't have to leave. Like, we're fine. And she was like, no, I've had bad experiences in the past. It's a really negative drug, and I can't do this. And I'm thinking to myself, this chick's on acid like every day. She didn't have a home. And, I'm like supporting her, and now she's booking it on me. I guess, she obviously doesn't want to be with me. And at the same time, I'm getting fired. At the same time, she's breaking up with me. At the same time, I've decided that I'm not going to live at home anymore and that I'm going to move out so that her and I can build a life together. And we're going to move in with friends. And I was like, fuck, like, sorry for swearing here, guys, but I was like, shoot, all of this stuff is coming down. I'm in a super strong depression. I don't know what to do. I'm going to be leaving my house. I'm mad at my parents. And so I come home, still high on acid, and I go to my parents and I confess to them everything. I'm like, well, first thing, I got fired from my job uh, again. And second thing, me and my girlfriend broke up. Third thing, I have been on a negative addiction to bad drugs for the last year and a half. And also, I'm still moving out at the end of the month. And this is like around Valentine's Day. She broke up with me around Valentine's Day. I'm like, ouch, thank you. I had the curse that I was single or broken up with on Valentine's or around then for like the last like 4 or 5 years. So clearly dating was not in Bobby's cards right now. Okay. So I told my parents and I'm like, I'm going anyway. And my mom's like, you can't go. And my dad's like, you can't stay. You need to go. And my mom's like, how dare you? He's not in a position to go. No, you have to stay. We have to get you better and this and that. And my dad's like, get out. Stop doing this. Stop freeloading. Stop messing up my life and living under my shadow. And he just railed on me. And I'm like, I deserve this. I'm leaving anyway. So dad's mad at me. Mom's telling me to stay. She's mad at me. I'm sitting there high on drugs, telling my parents I'm not going to do this anymore. And I'm leaving. I'm going to move out. I'm going to go move away. So my mom goes and helps me. She pulls out my aunt, and my aunt's like, here, have a job. And I started working graveyard at a taxi company, doing calls for drunk kids getting their, taxis in the middle of the night. And here I am just like shaking my head, being like, I do numerology. I've got a very powerful, direct sales business that I'm not building. I've managed top stores and regions. I've been a manager. I've been a leader in my sales career. And it's all come down to this. It all came down to sitting in the middle of the night. Where is it? With little tiny pieces of paper like this, this is the notepad paper. And I'd be writing doodling little notes, and doodling little drawings, little tiny like notes I'd make about how how crappy my life was, or sometimes how grateful I was for people still being there for me. And I was sitting there graveyard, my first union job. Opens the phone, hey, North Star Taxi, and like, how can I help you? And then, oh, I need a cab. Sure, no worries, on its way, ding, and then close the call. And then sometimes I'd be falling asleep, phone rings, oh, yeah, North Shore Taxi, and then I would get people a cab. And then sometimes you talk to the same street workers and the same drug dealers and the same people who are going from parties and the same people who just always went to the same superstore and the same old ladies who would go for their doctor's appointments and things like that. And I was sitting there and I was just like, my life just sucks. Like, I was living away from my family, just me and my dog, and I wasn't in the best place possible. Okay, so I ended up getting a friend of mine who was, as a matter of fact, bought something from my business. Him and his parents bought some equipment for me. And he's like, hey, man, I'm running a call center. And he's been trying to get me to work with him for a little while. He's like, I'd love to offer you a gig. And I'm like, well, I'm working late night. I'm by myself. And I can't touch the drugs anymore. I'm super depressed. And now he wants to bring me into a sales position. So I was like, sure, as a downtown gig. So I went downtown Vancouver and back into the thick of the battle. High-end office, downtown core, like straight up by the waterfront. I started making a couple $100 a day, and I started getting promoted again. on the phone, hey, we noticed you didn't finish your form online. We just wanted to call and make sure there's no errors in there. Just let you know we still have your package coming out. You just have to pay for shipping. And then it would like dupe them into getting a subscription to a product that they could buy at the store for like 12 to 15, 18, 20 bucks that we were about to charge a credit card $120 per bottle for, and you get 2 bottles. And then they call back being like, what the hell? And I'm like, just keep the bottles. We'll send you another sample. We'll send you another one. This is about your weight loss, or this is about your skincare, or whatever it was, silly little product that you'd sell on Facebook. And basically I was out there to help get it done. And, I made a lot of money. And we were working in Australia. I was talking to Australians. It's crazy, guys. This is like 2017, okay? And I all the time was like still keeping in the background. I had a business involved. I just wasn't building it. But got to a certain point, summer of that year, where I started looking at my numerology business, and I was like, I should build this. I should start charging people for my time. I'm worth it. I can do it. So I basically started booking half an hour, 1 hour sessions, and helping people through their business, or working through their entrepreneur journey, helping them find the power of numerology. I've been doing this whole time, just wasn't paying for it, wasn't getting a pay for it. But now that I had this really solid business, I had this really solid vision of like building my numerology business. I had a good solid job, and then I went through a breakup of a friendship. One of my friends who I lived with at the time took a sale from me and my distributor, one of my people in my business, and he was supposed to be a friend. And right at that same amount of time, I met Sally, my wife to be, online. I met her online, Plenty of Fish. So I met her on Plenty of Fish, and right at that same moment, I'm like doing really well at work. And at work, they're telling me, you can work from home. You can work from any internet connection you want. So I'm thinking, can I design a remote location? Because she lived on Vancouver Island, and I lived in downtown Vancouver, almost Burnaby. And so I was like, can I make this work? And lo and behold, I was also making clients happen. I was also working with people one-on-one, doing my coaching business, and I was falling in love, and my life was falling apart where I was. And so I was like, I'm going to go all in, because obviously Bobby does stupid things in his life. So let me just give up and give everything I have. I'm going to go and run to the island. I felt like, I met this woman, this Sally. I met her in a dream like 6 months before I met her. I had a dream about kissing this Filipino woman on a beach. And I laughed to myself thinking, that's funny. I guess she's out there somewhere. And when I met her, I'm like, that's it. Too bad. And I'll definitely get into this story on another episode for sure. This is kind of the condensed version. But I said, screw it. I'm just going to give up my life. I'm going to go move to the island. I need a change. I can't be around this anymore. I don't like these people. And my friends are, betraying me. I can take my job with me. And Sally had 3 kids. One was 3, one was 5, or maybe just around there. And then the other one was 11 months, 12 months when I met them. Okay, young kids. So packed my bags, spent $1,800 on a truck to move all my stuff to the island, and I moved in with her. And we moved in, and it was like North Vancouver Island, about an hour and a half up, and it was a sad time for my family, because here I am leaving them all, and I'm like, no, I'm going to be in love with this woman. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to make it happen. And when I got there, I had this headset sitting over there somewhere. But I was going to plug in, and I was going to take some calls, and I was going to make a couple $100 a day, and then I was going to take a couple numerology sessions and make another couple $100 a day, and I'd be fine. It'd be great. It'd be easy. No worries, no problems. Let's do this. And so I went out there, and I said, I'm going to take a month off from my jobs to get myself settled in, and I'll see you guys in a month. And when I do, it's game on. It's on time. Their business started falling apart, and my numerology business started to align. Now I've made a commitment to be a father to these kids. Now I made a commitment to Sally to be in there. 2 weeks after I moved on Valentine's. So we went out there and spent the romantic little getaway in Parksville. And then I was like, I'm not going to come back. I'm just going to stay out here. And then the beginning of March, we were getting kicked out of our old place. Didn't have enough space for us. Didn't have enough space for there was no pets allowed. And then on the other side, we didn't have a new space to live in. So right around 2 or 3 days into March, we closed the deal, like into the new month, we closed the deal on a rental property in Nanaimo. And that day or that weekend, I guess it was probably just around there, the 3rd of March, we conceive my son, and she gets pregnant on choice, on purpose. We decided we were going to have a kid. And it was, looking back, I'm like, wow, Bobby, you're so crazy. Like, you just start your brand new business and you quit your job. You know, you left on good terms with them, but you decided you're going to go and throw it all away and go and follow your heart. So I went out there and I got pregnant. Sally got pregnant, and, you know, we decided we're going to do this. The most craziest year, 2018. Business exploded. I started doing numerology sessions. I came highly recommended. Everybody needed to talk to me. I started talking to people inside of their business. I helped everybody grow. I helped a lot of influential leaders inside of our community add a letter in their name, and really grow their vision, grow their organization. We found a magnetism in our flow. I started raising my rates. Then next thing you know, April comes along. We take all the kids, 3 kids, pregnant lady, inside of a Chevy Impala, 2005 Chevy Impala, and we road trip from Nanaimo all the way to Vegas for an event. Because at this point now, I'm plugging back into my direct sales business. I want to show up as a leader. In the course of the last 3.5 years, whatever it was, 4 years, I had come up with almost 100 sales in my business. So I've got like a leadership perspective, a leadership role inside of the organization. I always kind of like kept on inching it forward. Even though I failed, I kept on moving it forward. And we went to Vegas with kids. Then we came back. Sally and I and little Jen, pregnant with my little baby Robert, the little one was still in breast milk. We went to Phoenix, Arizona at the end of April, or sometime, end of April, and we went out there for a communications course. Sally wanted to take an NLP thing, right? So we found a mentor out there. She wanted to take a course. I supported her, and I was just basically like the babysitter dad with a little girl while she was doing all of her stuff. That year, that summer, everything changed. At the time, the Freedom Team had invited me to speak. My friends Clint and Christy invited me to speak on stage at their event, their Freedom Blueprint event in Australia. We packed up all the kids. We bought flights to Australia because we were in that side of the world. Sally's like, I want to go to the Philippines. So we linked in a Philippines trip. We went to Singapore. Actually, I think we were supposed to go to Singapore, but we missed our flight from Australia after we speak, and we ended up going to Malaysia for a night hangover instead, and then reconnect to our flight to the Philippines. Then we went to Shanghai on the way back. We traveled the world this time, the time of this recording last year, 1 year ago. And then we came back to Canada, and then we packed our bags again. We went across the country to Toronto for another event. And at this point, I'm tired. I'm like, oh God. We come back. And we had our baby shower. And at that time, I proposed to Sally. A couple weeks or months before, I guess about a couple weeks before, we had traded in the Chevy Impala. Like, life's going upward here, okay? Like, this is the guy who couldn't hold a girlfriend, hold a job. Now I'm a global speaker. I'm a numerologist, a spiritual coach, and we got a 2018 Toyota 4Runner. Spent more on the car than I ever made in a single year as an employee. then we get engaged at the baby shower. We go off there, show off our new car. I bring the ring with me, and in front of all my friends and family, it's on my Facebook somewhere. I propose to Sally, and I tell her that I want to spend the rest of my life with her. And this is on our wedding shower. So Christmas, like the time comes to have a baby, and now we're in the fall. November comes along, my little baby boy is born, and we're ready. Now I'm like a dad. I've got this tiny little peanut-sized little human being. He sits in here like this. I'm like, he's never going to get bigger. And Sally's like, he's actually never going to get smaller now. He's going to keep on getting bigger. I'm like, wow. Just to think that my little son now is 8 months old, how fast this whole story comes together. Become a global speaker, to actually run my business and to speak on webinars. I'm invited to speak in group team meetings. I'm invited to speak on group sessions. I work with people. I've got a busy calendar. I'm running a business. Sally now takes on the direct sales business. She's running the Facebook ads. She's running her own business. She does taxes on the side. She's running her direct sales business. She's selling this equipment. I'm selling my numerology dream. I'm coaching, training, mentoring leaders and entrepreneurs inside of the business. All of this stuff is happening. It turns into 2019. This is like the start of this year. Things go off the hook. We're making multiple 5 figures a month. No big deal. Suddenly now I'm thinking about the future. I'm like, I want to make events. I want to come up with things like a podcast. I'm starting to go live like every other day and like just share value, drop content, help people grow. The story gets really good, guys. And it leads us to this moment and this point. And 2019, we skipped out on some events. We didn't do very much traveling, but we still went back to Arizona. We took another communications course. We went out just now to San Diego. We took another marketing program course as well. I'm pretty sure I may have gone somewhere else as well. I can't quite remember now. the shuffle of all the things that have happened, and you can forgive me for listing out some of these details, but I promise you they'll all show up in the book one day. But long and the short of it, I found my success. I found the place in my life where I was like, this is it. This is where I'm going to build, my dreams. I found the house. I've always dreamt about being on a house by the water, on the mountain. I moved into it. I always dreamed about having a really big house, living from home, working with my family, working with my spouse, power couple, raising my kids at home. I'm living that reality. I've always wanted to go and build a house and be a speaker and influencer. I look at the lot where I want to build a house like almost every single day. I can see it from my window. And to think that we're going to build homes like my parents did. I'm going to raise my family like my parents did. I'm going to live my dreams like my parents did. And maybe, their dream is a little bit different than mine. And to this day, to bring you back up to speed, we got, I got the offer to produce the podcast. I was just spitballing on a go live, being like, man, we called it Your Ultimate Podcast. Me and Sally would once a week, we would go out and just do a go live and upload it to YouTube. And that was not a podcast. It's what we thought we were going to make a podcast. You got to make a podcast. And Sally wanted to do this with me. And I'm the talker. She's not, so she doesn't say very much, but she likes to chime in every so often. And that's a little bit troublesome for me because I need to have someone who's going to parlay, and give me the constant conversation back and forth. And I felt like I was just hogging the mic all the time. So in addition to our, collaborative event efforts to create our own broadcasts of things, I, decided to do my own. I got the offer to do the podcast. I got also another offer to create and develop my own software. And then I got another offer to create and develop my own back-end system for my coaching business. And also leaders showing up in my business to build my direct sales business. And all of these pieces are now starting to set into place. Here we are now, 8 months in, or we're like this is about to be August 2019 at the time of recording this. The beginning of the journey. The beginning of the journey where I come out and tell you guys a bit of my story, in this case, a lot of it, and hope that it inspires you to think, man, you could be going through some tough stuff. I was suicidal. I was doing damage. Sometimes I was on like 4 different drugs at once. And for not a lack of trying, I was like, felt like I was dying. And, now to this, speaking to you, speaking my story, things that I thought I would never tell people, the darkest places of my entire being. Now I shine that up and I show people what's possible, that if you were to just get through it, you were to have a bit of that confidence that you would still move through yourself in a really, really big way. My goodness, I promise you something. Your vision is worth chasing. Your dreams are worth creating. And I hope that you never give up on them. I hope that you absolutely never give up on yourself. But for me, it was a wonderful feeling to look back at my life now, tell this story, and to realize how far have we come? How far have we come, and how far have we yet to go? Because we've got projects, we've got businesses, we've got ideas, we have visions. There will be books, there's be programs, there's apps in development, there's a system in place. You're going to see a lot of really cool value that I'm going to drop and give for everyone as a way of saying, let's do this. Are you ready to follow your dreams? Like literally ready to not give up on that, even when everyone tells you no, even when everyone says they don't want to be around you, even when you can't make it happen for yourself. Like I should have just stuck with drugs and left everything alone by all accounts of every betrayal and all. I didn't even talk about how many times I got cheated on. I had to realize that I just didn't love myself. That's why nobody liked me. That's why nobody wanted to be around me. I hated me. I didn't like my own story. I didn't like who I was. And to think now, looking back, that I went back and repaired that relationship that I had with myself in order to actually create the wealth, the true success, and the future that I have now. Man, I am so pumped for you. You guys are going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to teach you guys everything I know about numbers. I'm going to teach you guys everything I know about everything I've learned. I'm going to share everything that my mentors taught me, all the advice I paid for, all the advice that I learned. I'm going to give it back to you guys so that I can proudly say that I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on myself just to give it away to help the world become a better place. And selfishly tell you, it's a very profitable move. If you ever want to make money doing something, give it away for free, baby. And I promise you, that's the way to success, is that you have to really, truly love what you do so much that you would do it without the promise of getting paid for it. It'll pay you back 100-fold of what you give to the world gives back to you. Some people don't give to the world. They don't give to others. They don't give even to themselves. And then they wonder why they don't have success, or wonder why that it's not raining on them. It's because what are you giving to the world? It's showing up for you now. So if you feel any value or anything in my story that really clicked with you, you know what, honestly, this is an open invitation to come and see where I've come, to see how far I've come now. Take a seat. Join me on a go live. Better yet, book your session in www.bobbyfparihar.xyz. Once again, that's www.bobbyf, as in Francisco, PARIHAR.xyz. And come experience the magic for yourself. People give me reviews and videos and testimonials, and it's unbelievable the amount of change I've inspired in people, and the amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars of wealth that we've created together through this technology. Saved my life, saved me, changed everything around for me. I took a letter in my name after the advice of a numerologist, and things started to flow. Things started to move and started to shift, and I went from having all of that disaster to now in a few minutes going to go and catch up with my baby son and my wife sleeping, and basically be taking my life to the next level. So I appreciate you guys so much for sitting here, watching if you're watching, listening if you're listening, experiencing this story with me. I tell it with so much love and faith that the right people will hear it, and the right people will be inspired to travel through their own dreams. And if you ever need someone to talk to, just message me. The best way to reach out to me is Facebook. The best way to get results in your life is to book your own session now. To book your own session, make sure you have a personal experience with who you are. I will definitely dive into what new numbers are, how they work, and what they mean. That's time for another episode. But for tonight, I thank you. I appreciate you, and I honor you. I honor your path, and I honor the growing curve that you have to endure to get to the next place in your life. Don't give up. Look at your life. You haven't given up. You're still alive. Whether you want to consider yourself to be depressed or you feel like you've given up and you've given up all hope, try not breathing. Try, like you can't. You're going to stop at a certain point and recognize that you have to breathe. Life still chooses you. You still choose to be a part of this. And with that fight in your breath, with that motion to keep moving forward, I hope that you do find that bigger power in you that deserves wealth, deserves to be successful, deserves to be wealthy, deserves all the love your heart truly desires. I hope that you do truly find that in your life, because it gets tough out here. Life isn't easy. And I promise you that on the other side of that challenge that you have to go through is going to be something that you can, say, look, I made it. Look, I did it. So I appreciate you guys so much for watching, spending your time with me, hearing my story. I hope you found value in this. Reach out to me, comment below, leave a note, reach out to me, send me an email, whatever it is. Let me know that I affected you in some way, positive way, shape, or form, that my story inspired you somewhere. I promise you something. It's not over. It's just getting started. And now we're going to chronicle this. So now you're going to get a chance to see it. It gives you some backstory, gives you a little idea of where I've been and what I've gone through. Now you get a chance to see where I'm going next. Will you see me on stage? Will you see me at the top end of my own product line, or maybe at the top end of my own event? It's going to happen. And I invite you to the journey of uncovering the true power of your highest vibration. May it never dull on you. May it never dull your shine. And may you always find truth and purpose, even in the most trial and tribulation that you have to experience in your life. May you find the success that truly lights your path. I appreciate you guys so much, everyone. All of the people that have supported me, everyone who books a session, everyone who I've got a chance to work with, whether it be a simple conversation or a full in-depth coaching program. I appreciate you. I love you guys. I thank you guys so much for being there for me, supporting my family, supporting my vision, and being a part of it. Your success is a part of my vision. So take that on for a spin. Maybe this guy can help you get to where you need to go. That's why I call myself the solution artist. It's because I want to make sure that there's a solution for you and that it's going to be nicely detailed and nicely put together for you so that you have the ability to call your life an art form instead of just a bumbling, fumbling around of who knows what or what did or didn't happen for you. I appreciate you guys so much for watching and listening. This has been a very, very fun time. We're going to do this over and over and over again. So go ahead and subscribe to me on iTunes, download me on Spotify, find me on all your major channels. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on social media, I'm on YouTube. We're going to find new, different places like Audible, and I don't know where else you're going to find me. But wherever you can download your major podcasts, I'll be there. Wherever you can, if you want to come and join me live, I remind you, hey, join my Facebook. Come and follow me. Join my Go Lives. You may get a chance at a free reading. I'll show you all about what that looks like. I'll post a few of those replays so you guys can get a chance to see that for yourself. And I appreciate you guys for everything. So you guys have a great day, a great night, a great afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world, wherever this message finds you. I hope that it finds you in good health and good times. And let's go build your wealth. How about it, guys? Come on. Let's go. Let's just step into my spaceship. Let's take you. Where are you going? Where are you going in your life? Think about that to yourself as this podcast ends, to think, you know what have I accomplished? What have I gotten through inside my story that's worthy of telling, that's worthy of sharing? Who can I help by being me? There's always someone. And it starts with us. It starts with yourself. So thank you guys once again for watching. Have a great day, great night, and we'll see you guys on the next one. I'm Bobby F. Parihar, the Solution Artist, and it was a gift, an honor, and a blessing and a pleasure to serve you in business and in life. We'll see you guys soon. All right? Take care.